So we're on part 2 of day 2. How is everybody? Hopefully you've all had a bit of a chance to get your palettes made. I made one today. I'm so proud. I'll show you a bit later on anyway. And we're going to be working a little bit more on this morning. We've had a look at the lower values, and now we're going to have a look at the higher values and just see how that works with our reference image, which I've got ready set up. You can just leave it in colour, but just for the sake of making it a bit easier, I've put it in black and white. So I'm just going to run through a couple of acknowledgements first, because I've had a few people help me do this. So I just want to say a shout out to Robin Ely, who's amazing. So pretty much what I'm running through with you guys is a very simplified version of all the stuff that he's been teaching us. So a lot of the lessons I'm drawing from are things that we've learnt from Robin Ely. So if you are a bit of a painter and you've done a bit of painting in the past, but you want to improve your portraits or something like that, pop over to Robin Ely now and have a look on either his Instagram or his YouTube and do this little course. So normally his courses are thousands of dollars, and at the moment he's running one for free for 2 weeks only, and we're Monday into the second week, so it'll only be on until the end of the weekend. So yeah, if you are an artist already, someone who's painting, and you want to get a bit more of a feel for portraits, have a look at that. It's an amazing course. I'm absolutely loving what I'm learning. Also, thanks Dave for the new camera microphone situation, and also my husband, who helps me with everything because I always manage to bite off more than I can chew, and he somehow manages to live with that and help me out all the time. So okay, so let's get started. I've got my brand new palette. I'm not sure exactly how much you can see, and apologies if my limbs get in the way. I can't really, I'm not used to painting on a 45-degree angle. So you're going to need a little bit of burnt umber, not a lot this morning. You're going to need your titanium white. Now remember what we talked about yesterday in terms of where you want your lower values and your higher values. So remember how I said when you turn on a light in a dark room, the light fills the void. The light takes up the darkness, but you can't put darkness in a room to get rid of the light. So we don't want to go too nuts on the light. I've forgotten my rag, which is not ideal. And you're going to need a little bit of liquid because we want this to dry by tomorrow, so that tomorrow we can get started on colour. So I'm just going to add a really tiny drop of liquid to my white. Okay. And don't be afraid to mix a bit of the white. I mean, you really just want to leave the true white until last. Try and stick with a muted, sort of a browny white to start with. Okay, so I can see the lightest part is up here, but I want to start mixing it in with this burnt umber first. So I'm going to start around about here. Remember that the colour that we have already on the canvas is a mid-tone colour. It's about the same tone as what I put on my palette to help me get a base. So having that mid-tone on your palette really helps you see the right colour, see the right tone or the right value. So remember what we did yesterday with the two balls. One was a much darker or lower value than the other one. And that shows the relationship. So as soon as you put that mid-tone up against, sorry, I'm not used to talking while I'm painting. This is a new thing for my tiny little brain. So as soon as you put the medium tone, medium value up against a darker value, it looks lighter. But when you put it up against a lighter colour, a higher value, it then becomes the darkest shade. So keep that in mind, and that's why having that mid-tone grey is your starting point. It's where you want to start working from, because otherwise it's really easy to get lost in a painting. Really easy to go black background, white for everything that you want light, and then suddenly all your tones are off, all your values are off. It's something you sit there going, something doesn't look right, but I can't put my finger on what it is. At least that's my story anyway. I know it happens for a lot of us. So you see how I've put a little bit of a sort of a creamy white on there, and now I'm just grabbing a little bit of my burnt umber. I'm not sure if you can see the corner of my palette. And I'm trying to achieve a mid-tone between the white and the burnt umber. And keeping that shape too, following that shape with the pear. And then bringing it back to your lowest value. So your painting doesn't have to be either high value or low value. In this particular one, we're going to be going the full scale. So I've got the darkest part of my image here with the burnt umber. And I'm going to be moving up to pure white, almost pure white, where it's needed. So hopefully you guys were able to find my videos okay. I've had a few dramas trying to load them, just because I was trying to make them private so that really only people with a link could access them. I didn't really want to make these completely public because I'm using so many aspects from various workshops. I didn't want anyone to go, hey, you stole my idea. I really just wanted to share it with you guys. But look, there are a lot of artists out there who are very talented and share far more valuable insights than I'm able to give. But at least in the meantime, this should help get you started in shading. Try and follow your brush with the shade so that you can feather it out, blend it in. If you need more burnt umber to highlight those, bring out those lower value areas, don't be afraid to use more. Remember, it's the white that's harder to remove than the lower values. I've had a few requests for workshops for kids. I would love to do them, and I will at some point. I didn't do a lot of art as a child, to be honest. I really didn't take many lessons. The few that I did were more assessments of my skill rather than actually learning a heck of a lot. I've always been a very intuitive person, and I think that's where a lot of this has started for me. But really, all I learned as a child was to draw bottles and practice still life. Honestly, we did that for 5 years in school. 5 years, no joke, of drawing bottles and the occasional still life project. We did do a little bit of painting, but having someone in the room who can give you that one-on-one time as well, which I did have because we had a small art class, we had a wonderful art teacher. She was a Dutch person as well. She was lovely. Miss Zant in high school. Tried to track her down a number of times, and for the life of me can't find her. So have no idea whatever happened to her. She was a fantastic art teacher. At the time, I was incredibly resentful because all we did was draw bottles and paint bottles. And it just drove me insane. And I just felt like it was the worst thing in the world that we were stuck with an art teacher who just constantly made us draw bottles. But I tell you what, 5 years of drawing bottles, you get the hang of it in terms of shading. You don't forget it. You never forget it. I still draw on those lessons that she did with us, which was just seriously about observing, learning how to observe what's in front of you, learning how to take the time and slow down and just watch the shapes in front of you. She showed us the grid technique. We also used to have a little cutout square that we used to look through to be able to find our composition that we wanted to draw from the still life. To be honest, these are all little things that are really just in addition to what she taught us about art. But to be entirely honest, I was only there for a few years, and as a child I really didn't learn much. So I really don't have too much of an idea on how to teach art for children. This is something I've developed over a long period of time. And watched a lot of art TV when I would come home from school. Okay, we're just going to grab a bit more white now, so just white. And look for the highest value part of the pear. And I'm going to pop that in here. So keep looking back at your reference photo, your reference image, and we're trying to copy the composition or the layout of these high values and these low values. We're not going to go into super detail and do all those spots right now. We really just want to get our shading right, because if we don't get that right to start with, our whole painting is going to be off. Okay, and remember, when it comes to feathering out, try to get the paint off of your brush so that you've got a relatively dry brush, so it's not biased to either a more burnt umber or more white. It just helps feather out some of these shades. So yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but you know the guy with the amazing afro who used to do these really quick, awesome scenic drawings or paintings on TV. Very famous. I just can't for the life of me remember his name. Anyway, yes, I was like his biggest fan as a child. I used to race home from school, turn on the TV. I would always catch the last sort of 15 minutes of it. I'd just be like, wow, that's so amazing. And I remember him using all these amazing different types of brushes. I had no idea what he was talking about, but couldn't get my eyes off it. And my friend's mum had this painting on her wall that looked very similar to one of his paintings. And I used to sit there literally for just hours staring at this picture, like, wow, where did they put their brush stroke? And this is when I'm like 6 years old. I was so fascinated by painting and the whole process. I never actually started painting. I did one, actually that might have been, it wasn't even a painting. I don't think I started painting until I was maybe 14, 15. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this white. I really want to get a nice definition between the higher values and the lower values here. I really want this pear to look like you can just pick it up and eat it, is the idea. And as much as possible, we want to get rid of any, so you see how we have a line here between the light and the dark. We really want to get rid of that and feather it out as much as possible. The better you can blend, the more realistic your image is going to look. And then really, after the blending, once you've mastered blending, everything after that is just a few little details here and there. But the majority of your image, if you want it to look realistic, will just come down to a matter of how well you can blend your colours together or your tones together. And I think that's why my art teacher just got us to draw bottles right from the start. Just literally every day we came in and drew bottles, and it was so boring. So boring. So while I think I can provide some lessons for your kids, it's going to be really boring if you want me to do it. I don't really know any sort of fun activities that would help teach your kids very much, I think. But definitely if you can get your shading mastered, you've got 90% of the way. And really, your art is about whatever you want it to be too. You know, there's definitely skills you can learn that will help you achieve your goals, and observation is paramount when you're deciding what you want to paint. But ultimately, no matter what you paint, it's going to have your signature on it. It's going to have your look, your style. You're never going to be able to paint like someone else, and that's really important to understand. And that